The James Show Podcast.
So, did you even know that there was an assassination attempt on Brett Kavanaugh? And it got closer than the headlines made it sound. Like, they made it sound kind of like the Governor Gretchen Whitmer assassination attempt. Remember the Michigan governor? And we were supposed to be all scared, and it got a whole bunch of attention because some guys were plotting to kill her. Well, they never got close to doing it. They never executed the plan. They never even started to execute the plan. Turns out of the 16 people in the whole group, 4 of them were either straight up feds or paid informants that had been flipped, including the 2 ringleaders. The guy, the ringleader and his second in command, his little lieutenant. It was a lot further away from the process than the Brett Kavanaugh one was. Now, in the Brett Kavanaugh situation, we have a guy out there who hates Team Red, and his policies are driven, we assume, by his association with the letter people. He came out to his evil conservative parents as gay a few years ago, and then he upgraded that to trans and never legally changed his name, but he was going after Brett Kavanaugh. He took a taxi. Oh, actually, I saw one report say taxi, another report saying Uber. Doesn't matter which one's true. But he had guns. He had a gun, a knife, zip ties on him on his way to Brett Kavanaugh's house. Now, when he gets there, he sees that there's 2 U.S. Marshals that are stationed in front of Kavanaugh's house, and they're armed. So he's not crazy. He's like, well, if I try and kill Brett Kavanaugh, I'm not even going to be able to be successful in my attempt, and these guys will take me out before I even get through the front door. So I guess this is a bust. However, there's some weird moment of self-reflection where he calls 911 on himself, goes to jail, has a trial, found guilty, and then he was sentenced. Now, with that backstory, I'm going to play you how it was covered this weekend, because I have the NBC Saturday morning show. It's the Saturday version of the Today Show. And I have the CBS morning show for Saturday. And there's no mention of the fact that Nicholas is a trans. In fact, they call him by his preferred name, even though he didn't legally change his name. So half of this is a lie. This is not a her or a she. This is a guy. And her name, his name, is not Sophie. But I'm going to play you this because there's no mention of that. There's no mention at all that there was anything trans about the situation. And it's short reports. I can play. This is the whole reporting from what I understand, according to Newsbusters, that they did here. And I can't play you on ABC, their Saturday version of Good Morning America and their coverage of it, because they didn't even mention it. There was an active plot. And in the middle of the assassination attempt, the plot was thwarted. The plot fell apart. And that doesn't even warrant news coverage when the guy is sentenced. Amazing. But look, here's NBC.
We want to get to the headlines right now as we begin this half an hour. The woman who plotted to assassinate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh was sentenced to 8 years in prison on Friday. Sophie Roski was arrested near Kavanaugh's Washington home in June of 2022. That's after her attorney says she changed her mind in a taxi while on the way and called 911 to turn herself in. Roski spoke in court Friday, apologizing to Kavanaugh and saying she regretted her actions. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, now blasting the sentence, saying it's not long enough and promising an appeal.
Oh, no mention of trans. Oh, that's so weird. I thought that was the most important thing in the world. We have the Day of Visibility. We have all the concern about how they're being genocided or whatnot. Didn't come up? That's strange. What about you, CBS?
A judge has sentenced a California resident who tried to assassinate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Sophie Roski will spend 8 years in prison, followed by a lifetime of court supervision. In 2022, she took a taxi in the middle of the night to Kavanaugh's Maryland home. She had a gun, knife, and zip ties. 2 U.S. Marshals were guarding the house. Roski dialed 911 and said she needed psychiatric help. Prosecutors sought a minimum 30 years in prison. The Justice Department said it intends to appeal.
And then here is the ABC report on the pretty close assassination attempt on a Supreme Court justice. Oh, that's right. There wasn't one. Garbage human beings. God forbid you had to admit something that doesn't fit your narrative. This is Edward in Dallas. You're on WBAP. Hey, Edward.
How's it going?
Pretty good. What can I do for you?
So the thing about Mark Sanchez, I heard that he was on that liquid courage.
Oh, you're referring Mark Sanchez, former backup Cowboy for the Dallas Cowboys. He is in the hospital and being charged with a felony for stabbing some 69-year-old fella in the alley next to his hotel in Indianapolis this weekend. What, you're saying he was drunk?
Yeah, that's what I heard. That was this morning. I think it was on the news. They said he smelled like alcohol.
Okay, I believe that. What was that? This was a Saturday night thing? Wasn't this Saturday? Or was this Friday night?
I think it was Friday night because what day was the game? Sunday?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was Friday night.
And then the lacerations. So supposedly he grabbed the 69-year-old and he body slammed him.
Shut up!
Cuts from. That's why he turned around. Guy ended up stabbing him.
So what did he take the knife away from that guy and start slashing him back? I didn't hear all this part.
No. The 69-year-old pulled the blade out and started stabbing Mark Sanchez because after he body slammed him.
Okay. So when the 69-year-old has slashes on his face, which was in the report that I played earlier, where did that come from? Just from the body slam? That doesn't sound right. You wouldn't get a laceration from a body slam. You would get a contusion or an abrasion, but not a laceration.
Well, but how about if you, like said, when you land on your face, concrete.
Again, contusion or abrasion, but not a laceration. Laceration means you've been sliced with a sharp object. Cut with a piece of glass.
It could be because it was an alley. It could have been that. Or depending what he slammed him, how he slammed him.
Maybe on broken glass or something?
Since it's an alley, it's a hotel,
Well, clearly you know more about this than I do. So thanks for I got some stuff to look up, Edward. I appreciate the addition to the show.
All right.
It's a strange story, though, man. Strange. I would not have guessed Mark Sanchez would be in the hospital right now facing a felony as soon as he recovers from his stab wounds. He was just on the Cowboys a few years ago, helping out Dak Prescott in his rookie year, kind of him and Romo were being the voice of reason and sort of ushering this new kid into the big bad world of the NFL. Now, look at him. What the heck is going on? Welcome to the James Show. A long-suffering Dallas Cowboy fan by birth. Yesterday's game, is it just false hope? Because there's a little bit of hope in there. Let's ask John Ingham. He's on the WBAP media team on the weekends covering such things. And we had talked about this on Friday. And I was making the case, John, that if you can't beat a team as bad as the New York Jets, your season's over. Well, good news is our season's not over yet, but I only feel slightly better about our odds than I did on Friday.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. I think most people around the Metroplex and really all over the nation that are Cowboys fans feel that same way, James. I mean, they did really well, even though they lost the game against Philadelphia. They did really well against Green Bay, even though they tied. They beat a bad Jets team, which they were supposed to, but I wasn't even sure that they were going to walk in there and be able to do that simply because there was a baker's dozen, like we talked about Friday, that was on the injured list. 4 of the 5 offensive linemen were out. Yeah, Kavanaugh Turpin out, of course, CD's out. And so I really, I thought that the Cowboys very easily could have walked in there. It's the wounded tiger theory, James. I thought that, there was a greater than 0 chance that they could go in there and get beat. But they did what they were supposed to do. And I'm not saying that they're going to the playoffs, and I'm not saying that they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I am saying they looked really good. And in that one Sunday afternoon, they had everything clicking. And if they can continue to do that, then maybe some good things will happen. But you're right. It was one game. So let's not put them in the Super Bowl just yet.
Yeah, right. Well, look, I found some optimism in the fact that with all of those players out, that the backups actually did pretty damn good.
They did great, didn't they? I mean, those offensive linemen, you had 3 undrafted guys. You had, I think, a 6th and a 7th round pick that played a lot. And they looked really good. I mean, arguably, they've done better than the starters. And, some folks say that line is better without Tyler Guyton. I don't know that I would go there, but, you can't argue. Yeah, it is. And, he's a first-round pick, and I'm by no means giving up on him. But that line looked really good yesterday. And, Javonte Williams rushed for, I think, 8.4 yards a carry. He had 135 yards. I mean, he is phenomenal. And if you can give him just a little bit of a crease, he's going to be able to do some things. And, you're a football guy. And so, that if the running game's working, that's only going to help the passing game. And so Dak is having so far an MVP type season. And I think a lot of it is because of that makeshift offensive line and the running game.
Well, he's definitely the MVP of the Cowboys because he's one of the few starters that didn't get hurt.
Well, yeah, that's true. But
Hey,
he's playing lights out, James. It's the best that he's ever played in his career. And like you said Friday from the fair, that he's doing this without CD Lamb. It's incredible.
Yeah, with a big hat tip to Pickens there. But,
sure.
I have noticed.
And Ferguson.
Yeah, Ferguson, what was the stat we heard on him? It's the most catches by a tight end in NFL history through the first 5 games or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I think he's tied it. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Last week he passed Antonio Gates for the most through 4, and I think now he's tied for the most through 5 games in NFL history. He is phenomenal. He is Dak's safety blanket. They work so well together, and he just signed that new contract, and he's playing to his paper. You got to give him that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We're talking with John Ingham. He's on the WBAP media team on the weekend covering the Cowboys. And so when we look forward, we're about to hit a rough patch in the schedule. I don't even want to look when we get back into divisional play because we still got to play all of our guys again. And then our off-division schedule is pretty tough too.
It is. 6 of the last 7 games of the season are against playoff teams from last year, and they have to play those in, I think it's 32 days. But before we get there, you've got a very winnable game this week going to Carolina to play the Panthers. Although, former Cowboy Rico Dowdle had a 208 rushing yards yesterday. You were talking about Breece Hall earlier on your show and that no one knew him. Well, all he did at Iowa State and so far in the league is rush the ball really well. And he did again yesterday. But Rico Dowdle, 208 yards. He's playing against his old team. He's going to want to do well. But the Cowboys should win that game. They've got the Arizona Cardinals. That's another winnable game. They've got a couple that they've got to win before they hit that really, really tough stretch.
I feel like in this league, there's not enough quarterbacks to go around. I feel like there's only like maybe 16, 20 at most starting quarterbacks really deserve that job. But I think the exact opposite of running backs, and not that they're a dime a dozen, but if you lose a good guy, the odds are pretty good that you're going to replace him. We lose DeMarco Murray, then we get we lose Ezekiel Elliott, then we get who? Tony Pollard, or then there's Rico Dowdle. There's always seems to be some guy that'll pop up, and if you hand him the rock, he'll make something happen with it. And I don't remember running backs being that plentiful in years past.
No, they weren't. And the running back position was much more revered than it is now. Think about when we were kids, when it was, Tony Dorsett and then Emmitt Smith and Herschel Walker. I mean, those guys, they carried the team for a while. Emmitt didn't even have a backup, and he was able to do what he did. And, when everybody was discounting the running back position, James, a few years ago, I kept thinking, wait a minute. Everybody talks about wanting to be balanced. You've got to throw and run the ball in order to be effective. And so how are you going to discredit one of the most important positions by saying, oh, anybody can do it? Well, no, you can't. And Saquon Barkley proved that last year with the Eagles. You've got to have a good running back. And I think, you can look at what Javonte Williams has been able to do this year. He's just been phenomenal. And like I said earlier, that opens up so much more in the passing game and everything else. You've got to be able to run the ball. And running backs, although there are more plentiful, those great ones are still really hard to find. They're not as hard to find as a good quarterback. You're right about that. That's still the hardest position to find. But, pick any position. Take Micah Parsons. Take Trayvon Diggs, take Deron Bland, take any of the guys that are supposedly the best at their position. There's only a few of those. They're unicorns, and when you got them, you hang on to them.
All right, John Ingham, I appreciate the wrap-up here on the Jets game. We'll do a preview of the upcoming Carolina game on Friday. Thank you very much,
Hey,
sir.
man, sounds good. I'm just glad that you would have me on the same day that you would have a Trump. I don't know whether that you're trying to balance yourself out with having, one of the most famous people in the world, and now you're slumming with me or what, but I feel honored, James. Thank you.
Well, we're both in the slums together.
The James Show Podcast.